Good afternoon and welcome to another of our sessions on comparative religions. We have been looking over the past several weeks at what are called syncretism religions or syncretist religions. They are religions that basically are groups of people that have gathered together a lot of different thoughts and a lot of different ideas from different places and have put them all together to create and form and fashion a new system of religion for people to follow. The group that we're going to be dealing with today are known as the Sikh, and they come to us out of India. The traditions of the Sikh are very varied and very interesting as we look at this group of people. Sikhism is a progressive monotheistic religion founded over 500 years ago in the Punjab region of India. And they have gathered a whole lot of traditions from various other religions to form the basis of their beliefs. The Sikh religion today has a following of over 20 million people worldwide. So it is a very large group of people. It is ranked as the 5th largest religion in the world. Predominantly, the religion is in the nation of India, but they have spread out to other places in the world, including to the United States. There is a large Sikh community here, even in the Philadelphia area. The Sikhs preach a message of devotion and remembrance of God at all times. The way you live your life and the way you focus your life on God is exactly what makes life worthwhile. Truthful living is one of the aspects of this faith. You are to live as a person who has integrity and tells the truth all the time. They believe very strongly in the equality of mankind, and actually, I suppose I should change that and say the equality of humankind, because they recognize that everybody from every part of the world, every background, every tradition, every religion, every race, male, female, everybody is all equal in the eyes of God. They seek to find a way to promote and to establish social justice wherever they live. The word Sikh in the Punjabi language simply means disciple, a student, a follower, one who obeys the traditions of this particular group of people. Sikhs are the disciples of God who follow the writings and the teachings of what were known as the 10 Sikh gurus. The wisdom of these teachings is gathered together in a collection of books, sacred texts, that are known as the Sri Guru Granth Sahib. They have a collection of writings from various time periods and from various authors, particularly from the 10 Sikh gurus, that are based in their understanding of ways to live your life that will appeal to all human beings. They are practical and they are universal. Some of the ideas that they have, doesn't matter where you live, they are things that you should follow and practice as a way of being a follower of God. Now, one of their traditions, and they're kind of a statement of faith that you might find in Sikhism, is this: I observe neither Hindu fasting nor the ritual of the Muslim Ramadan month. Fasting is not a part of their tradition. Him I serve who at the last shall save. This belief in a monotheistic God who is the Savior of all humanity. The Lord of the universe, or to put it another way, the gods of the Hindus, the Gosain, and Allah, these are all one God. There is no distinction. It doesn't matter what tradition, what faith you belong to, there is one God, and we all follow this God. It is that one sole Lord that a person who is a Sikh seeks to serve and no other. So the statement of faith, I observe neither Hindu fasting nor the ritual of the Muslim Ramadan month, Him I serve who at the last shall save. The Lord of the universe of the Hindus goes saying, and Allah to me are all one. One sole Lord I serve and no other. Very, very passionately monotheistic. So who is a Sikh? Well, this is how they define themselves. Any human being who faithfully believes in one immortal being. And so to that end, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam in their own ways would fit into that category because those three religions are all monotheistic. There is one God, and that is what we hold in together. Now, in the Sikh tradition, there are 10 gurus, beginning with Guru Nanak and going through Guru Gobind Singh. And these 10 gurus are the people whose wisdom and understanding a follower is to obey. Their collected writings, as well as the writings of other people, are put together in this book, the sacred text, this collection of books, the Sri Guru Granth Sahib. And these are the utterances and the teachings of the 10 gurus. Now, for people who advance in the religion, there is an act of baptism that was incorporated into the beliefs by the 10th guru, this man by the name of Guru Gobind Singh, and baptism can be a part of that. And anyone who does not owe allegiance to any other religion. So if you were to forsake your traditions of Judaism or Christianity and follow these basic outlines faithfully, you would be a member of the Sikh community. History. The founder of the religion was a man by the name of Guru Nanak. He was born in 1469. His message that he started with was a message of love and understanding. What we need as human beings is this concept of great love, love for God and love for one another. And that message of love and understanding was crucial to the shaping of the Sikh traditions. And one of the things that he was very critical of was any kind of rituals that were empty of meaning. They look at this in many different ways. Pilgrimages to holy sites are meaningless in the Sikh tradition. All kinds of other things, celebrations of holidays and religious devotions, things like that, these were all criticized as being empty and of no real value. Now what he did was Guru Nanak passed on his enlightened leadership of this new religion to 9 successive gurus. His words, his instructions, his teachings were recorded and passed on and passed down through this group of 10 gurus that became the leaders of the Sikh tradition. The final living guru, Guru Gobind Singh, died in the year 1708. But before he died, he did something very unique in the history of religious traditions. He established first off what was called the Khalsa. It means the word means the pure. And these members of the Sikh community, special elevation of importance in the community, the Khalsa were soldier saints. And they had the goal of holding up the highest virtues of commitment, dedication, and social conscience. They became, and still continue to be, the influential leadership of the Sikh community. And they are a part of this order that is basically soldier saints, and that was their tradition. They were very serious warriors, but they were also very pious people with a great deal of real dedication to the world. The Khalsa are men and women who have undergone the Sikh baptism ceremony. They are ones who have advanced to this higher level, and they strictly follow a code of conduct and conventions that is in addition to the sacred texts of the Sikh religion. They wear the prescribed physical articles of the faith, and you can always recognize and tell when you are dealing with somebody who is a Sikh, who is a part of this Khalsa. You will recognize that by the clothing that they wear. The symbols represent the ideals of Sikhism: honesty, equality, fidelity, meditating on God, and never bowing to tyranny. First off, the first symbol is called kesh. This is for a man or a woman that will not cut their hair. The hair is to remain growing all the time, and the hair is tied up and shaped and wrapped around on top of the head and covered by a turban, or what is in the Punjabi language, the dastar. You'll recognize people who are Sikh because they wear that turban. One of the things about our world today is the people in the Sikh community oftentimes are mistaken for being Muslim because they wear a turban. That is not the case in reality. They are not, but they are oftentimes mistakenly considered to be Muslim. Kanga is a wooden comb that is usually worn under the dastar, which holds the hair in place, and then the turban is put on over top. Men and women. So there's honesty, there's equality. Another thing is this is called the kachera. It is a cotton undergarment. Historically, it was used wearing by both sexes during battle because it gave great mobility. They continue to wear this today because the kachera is a symbol of chastity and fidelity. Kara is an iron bracelet that is worn on the wrist, and it can be used as a symbol of eternity, that circle that never ends. It can also be used as a weapon. And lastly is the kirpan, which is an iron dagger. All people who are a part of this tradition, they will wear all of this equipment at the same time. The kesh, which is the turban that a person will wear, the kanga, the comb, the kachera, the undergarments, the kara is the ring, and the kirpan is a knife or a longer blade knife that is used there basically for symbolism. Now, before his death in 1708, after the establishment of the Khalsa, Guru Gobind Singh appointed as his spiritual successor, this is interesting, the Sri Guru Granth Sahib, the book, the writings, the teachings. That now becomes the leader and the spiritual power of the Sikh community. There is no head of the community. There is the sacred text. And his physical successor is the Khalsa, the men and women who take this vow of baptism and continue to be the living embodiment of all of the traditions and virtues and values of this community. Guru Singh felt that wisdom needed for daily guidance, for spiritual guidance, could only be found not in a human being. It could only be found inside the sacred texts. And so the texts are there so that all can read, all can come to understanding, all can come to wisdom. They are the eternal guru of the Sikhs, this leader, this constant presence, this guidance, this spiritual reality is only found in the text. The Sri Guru Granth Sahib is unique in the world of religious scriptures. It is accorded the status of being the spiritual head of the Sikh religion. In Judaism, We have the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. We have the mighty people like Moses, the people that we look up to like King David or the prophets. Those are the ones that have the spiritual wherewithal to guide the people if we listen to their teachings and understand it. Christianity, of course, we have Jesus. We have the 12 disciples. We have the early leaders of the church. We have all of these figures throughout history who have continued to be spiritual guides. In the history of religion, Sikhism is unique because it is not a person. It's the writings that has spiritual authority. It has the writings of other saints as well, saints of other faiths, whose thoughts were consistent with those of the Sikh gurus. For example, their understanding is that these traditions that they have, these virtues that they have, are not just for them, but they are something that are absolutely universal. And so we could say, for example, that the Sikh tradition would hold that murder is wrong, and they do. But then so does Judaism and Christianity and Islam and Hinduism and Buddhism. It's a universal truth. It is something there that is open to everyone, and therefore there could be people from other faiths and other traditions whose thoughts were consistent with those of the Sikh gurus. And so we could have the books of Moses, which give us those understandings of thou shalt not kill. Well, makes sense. We can use that and incorporate it into the Sikh traditions because they are universal truths that everyone can hold to. Sikhism does not have priests. They were abolished by Guru Singh. We don't need priests. Every person has their own ability to be able to read and to study and to come to understanding. The Guru felt that they had become corrupt and full of ego. And so the best thing to do was to eliminate that office altogether, which is what happened. And so, any Sikh is free to read the sacred text. They can go to a Sikh temple, or they can do so in their homes. Every person has the ability to read and to understand and come to understanding and come to wisdom on their own without the need for religious authorities. Now, here's the thing that is about them in this fact that they are open to everyone and recognize everyone everywhere as being equal. People of all religions are welcome to come to a Sikh temple. Come there to pray, come there to read the text, come there to worship. Everybody is open and welcome and invited to come in. At every temple, one of the traditions in Sikhism is that every temple has a community kitchen, which means anybody can go there and can receive a meal. This is open to everybody, all people of all faiths. Everybody's welcome. Guru Nanak first started this institution, which outlines the basic principles of service, humility, and equality. We're trying to care for everybody. We're trying to show this equality, and so they are an open door community. Some of their philosophy and beliefs: there is only one God, and He is the same God for all people and all religions. We can have our differences, we can have our arguments and our disagreements about whether this is right or that is right, but the Sikhs recognize that there is only one God, same God for everybody. We're all in this together. They have taken an idea from Hinduism and from Buddhism of reincarnation. And their understanding here is that the soul of the person goes through many, many cycles of births and deaths before it reaches the human form. And in this existence as human beings, we also experience these cycles of births and deaths, this reincarnation. But the goal of life as we continue to grow and develop through many, many successions of lives that we go through, the ultimate goal is to lead an exemplary existence, to become so pure and so perfect that you may actually be able to merge with God. That is the goal. It's taken a little bit of this understanding, of course, from Hinduism and Buddhism, the understanding of reincarnation and this understanding of growing and continual development and eventually achieving some type of oneness with the cosmos, some type of nirvana. But here in Sikhism, that reincarnation, the goal is that you may become one with God. And that's what they attempt to do in the practice of their faith. Sikhs should remember God at all times, and they are called to practice a virtuous and truthful life while maintaining balance between their spiritual obligations and their temporal obligations. In fact, in the Sikh tradition, there really is no separation between the spiritual and the temporal. Everything is all a part of one life of existence. The true path to achieving salvation and merging with God doesn't require things like celibacy, but it means living a very simple life. Live the life of a householder. Go out and work and earn an honest living. You don't have to become a monk. You don't have to become a hermit. You don't have to become a religious person. You go and you earn an honest living. And you try to keep away from worldly temptations and from any kind of sin. Because those things will only distract you from trying to achieve this merging with God. In other words, you live in the world, but live a good and virtuous life. Sikhism preaches that people of different races, religions, or sects are all equal in the eyes of God. There is no distinction. Sikhism teaches the full equality of men and women. And for this, they were very advanced for their times. We're talking about going through the 1600s and preaching that women and men have the same equality and the same value was a different worldview than what else was out there. Women can participate in any religious function. They can perform any Sikh ceremony. They can lead the congregation in prayer. They have full, open access to everything. And so this truly is an egalitarian type of community. There is only one God, and they believe God is the creator of everything. God is the sustainer of everything, and ultimately God will be the destroyer of everything. They do have that kind of an apocalyptic understanding that many other faiths have. They are very clear about this. God is God, and God cannot take on human form. And they believe that God is neither born nor dies, neither enters birth nor departs in death. God simply is God, and that's it. There is nothing else like that. God is God. The goal of human life is to break the cycle of birth, death, rebirth, death, rebirth. That cycle goes on and on. Your goal is to break that cycle and merge with God, and this can be accomplished by following the teachings of the gurus, reading the sacred text, studying them, understanding, and seeking to live by them. Meditation on the holy name of God, and performance of acts of service and charity. The only way that you can show that you truly are a godly person, that you are a person of love for God and love for other human beings, is to be a person who lives their lives carrying out acts of service and acts of charity. This is at the heart and soul of everything that is done in the Sikh tradition. Now, one of the things we have to be aware of is that there are dangers, and we're all aware of that. The 5 cardinal vices, the things that you have to avoid in your life. Number 1 on the list is lust. Lust is going to detract you from following God and having a virtuous life. Anger. You cannot be a person of love, a person of service, and a person of charity if you are filled with anger. How can you be a charitable human being? How can you be giving your life in service if you are consumed by greed? If you're attached to the things of this world, and that becomes the most highest level of priority in your life is worldly attachments, how can you be a devoted follower of God when your focus is on the world? And finally, pride, thinking more highly of yourself than you should. These are all things that are to be avoided, and they are the sins that people have to be very cautious of in carrying out their lives. And the understanding in Sikhism is if you can overcome these kinds of vices, then you will achieve salvation and you will be able to merge with God. And so that's the task of living out this faith. Normal family life is encouraged. Get married, have children is very important. Celibacy is not necessary. Renunciation of the world is not necessary. You've got to be very careful about falling into the trap of the vices that are out there. But disassociating yourself from the world is not a major necessity, nor is celibacy. A normal family life is what they want you to have. You get married, you raise children, you have a career, you work, you do everything that is a part of human existence. Life is good. Enjoy it. You have to live in the world, without a doubt, but you have to keep your mind pure and your actions pure. That is the goal. And a good member of the Sikh community is a soldier, is a scholar, and a saint. That is the understanding that they have of what it means to be a part of the Sikh community. The Sikh holy book is the perpetual guru. There is no place for a living guru today. It just is not there. Honest labor and work are the approved way of living one's life. It is considered most honorable to earn your daily bread through honest work, not by begging and not by dishonest means. Everything that you do in life should be filled with integrity and honesty, with service and charity at the heart of all. Now, for this special group of people, the baptism, which is called Amrit Sanskar, is the act of becoming a deeper follower in the Khalsa Brotherhood. And this baptism is the sacred ceremony for initiation into this group. It should only be taken by those who are fully mature enough to realize the commitment and the service that is required. It could be a man or a woman of any caste, any previous religion. If you want to be deeply dedicated in the traditions of Sikhism, then you go through this process of baptism in the Khalsa Brotherhood. I guess actually brotherhood is probably a bad word to use because this is open to both men and women. We should probably come up with a better description for it than that. The initiate is required to wash their hair. It's not going to be cut, but it's going to be washed. It's going to be tied up together. They're going to have the head covering. They will have clean clothes on, and they will wear all of those things, the turban, the comb, the undergarments, the bracelet, and the knife. All of those they will have on them before they present themselves for the act of baptism. Amrit, which is sweet sugar water, is prepared in a steel bowl, and the initiate is to stir this up with their kirpan, their knife. The initiate drinks from the Amrit 5 times in cup hands, and as they are doing it, they are to recite, "The pure belong to God, victory to God." 5 times they do this. The Amrit is then sprinkled on the hair and the eyes of the initiate, and then any that is left over, the people that are present all take a drink from it so that there is this kind of shared communion of this act. And then there's the understanding of death. In this tradition, death is considered a natural process and is always considered to be God's will. There's a little bit of difference here than what we experience here in American society, because here in our society we don't talk about death. We try to ignore it. We try to pretend it's not going to be there. It certainly does not play an understanding in our minds of a natural process, although it is. And they consider this to be that very natural process that all of us go to. And they don't shy away from that. And they understand that death, no matter how it happens, is, well, it is God's will. Any public displays of grief at the funeral, such as wailing or crying out loud, are discouraged. And a big part of this has to come from the understanding of reincarnation. In a way, what reincarnation teaches its followers is that this life is temporary. It is only here momentarily. And when a person dies, they start a new life. The person is now beginning a whole new process of growth and development on the path in their understanding of becoming one with God. A funeral is not a time for grief. A funeral, well, wailing and crying are discouraged because this should be a transition to a new level of existence, a transition to being a new level of being, a transition bringing one closer to God. The public displays of grief kind of counter that. Cremation is the preferred method of disposal of the body. This again comes out of the traditions of Hinduism and Buddhism that believe that the soul is encapsulated inside the body, and the only way that the soul can be released is for the body to be destroyed in the act of cremation. And the spirit then, the soul then, can move on to the next reincarnation, the next level of life, the next level of existence. So what has happened here is Sikhism has taken traditions from the Hindu and Buddhist understandings of reincarnation. They have taken some of the understandings that have come to us out of Christianity, out of Judaism, out of Islam, and they have brought them all together into a new way of shaping and focusing on the value of human life. The entire goal here, that is actually available to everyone, it's approachable to everyone, is that we are all equal in the eyes of God. Men, women, no matter what color, no matter what race, no matter what nationality, we are all together as people. And our purpose in life is to live out the love of God, to be people that are involved in caring for one another, for people who are filled with an obligation of charity towards one another and seeking to understand the necessity of equality. It's a religion that is 20 million people in the world that practicing this all the time. And it's an idea that certainly has a tremendous amount of value. We're going to finish there for today. We're going to pick up next week. I believe next week we're taking a look at another small group that is another syncretistic religion out of the Middle East. Very unknown group of people until just recently. A group of people that live in the northern part of Iraq, a little bit into Turkey, a little bit into Syria, but a very small and isolated group of people known as the Yazidis. They came into the news a couple of years ago as the Islamic State was beginning to try and conquer Iraq and Syria. What we discovered was this small group of the Yazidis were subjected to a great deal of persecution because of their beliefs. Next time around, we're going to take a look at that tradition. So thank you for being here today. Hope you enjoy it and have a wonderful afternoon, and we'll see you again next week.